The age of Asuka is over. Asuka was undefeated, but now she's just defeated. It used to be no one is ready for Asuka. But now, I mean, like, everybody's ready for Asuka. You're ready for Asuka? You?
No, but I'm ready for therapy.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. Gonna find you and take it slowly. Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. Gonna find you and make you want me.
Now that I escaped.
All right, so if it wasn't clear from that intro, we are going to jump right into SmackDown first this week. By the way, welcome to the Click Wrestling Podcast. This is CEOHaize. Over the course of this podcast, we're going to be talking about Raw, SmackDown, with some New Japan conversation. And we have another unorthodox opinion from the man Dwill. So we're looking forward to the show this week. But like I said, we're going to jump right into SmackDown. I want to talk about what opened SmackDown up. And that is Carmella and Asuka. Carmella cutting a pretty decent promo. I would like to think on Asuka. She's talking about how she's been since her loss since WrestleMania, saying she doesn't quite have it, which they're telling that storyline pretty good for what they want to do with it. I know there are a lot of wrestling fans that have an issue with how Asuka's being handled, considering the streak that she was on before she came to the main roster and the fact that she lost her first WrestleMania match. But I'm going to make the comparison here. Is that not, and take away the NXT thing, but let's just stick with me here for a minute. So Asuka made the debut on the main roster, having a huge fan base, was kind of dealt with kind of well at first, lost her first WrestleMania match, hasn't been in a good storyline really since then. They have, obviously she has a title match at the pay-per-view at Money in the Bank. Does that not kind of sound like AJ Styles' first year in WWE? He lost that first WrestleMania match to Chris Jericho. Then he went on a losing streak, lost a couple matches to Roman Reigns, just all of that. And then eventually he won the title on SmackDown, became a big star there, and it's been just really good with him ever since. Is that what they're now doing with Asuka? Now, the difference between the AJ Styles and Asuka comparison that I just made is that AJ Styles feuded with John Cena a little while after his loss to Chris Jericho and Roman Reigns in that losing streak. So he was in a very high profile feud. Carmella isn't the John Cena of the women's division. She never will be. But I'm just saying overall, the bones of the story, the outline of the story they're telling could very well be that she wins this title and Money in the Bank, and then we start getting the Asuka that we all want to see. We start getting that dominant Asuka. She starts having her swagger back. On this episode of SmackDown, she actually had a handicap match against Mandy Rose and Serena Deville, and she came out on top. So they're trying to do more stuff with her. Sonya Deville, but you guys get my drift. You get what we're saying. They're preparing her. At least I hope, for better stuff to be told with her, better stuff to be done with her. And we'll continue to see. And we'll talk about AJ Styles a little bit later on in the show. But the next thing that I want to get into from this SmackDown show, is it not just great to have Naomi finally aligned with the Usos? Like, it just makes so much sense. And we've seen what having a manager or having a woman in your corner can do. We saw what it did for Cien Almas, and the Usos, since they've been in this new character, the whole Usos penitentiary thing has just been great. So to have them, the whole family together now, I'm enjoying the storyline. I'm enjoying the thing versus Rusev Day. Jimmy and Naomi had a match against Lana and Aiden English. Naomi and Jimmy had to go over in that match, I think. And, I'm just enjoying it, like that, period, point blank. I'm just enjoying seeing her with them. I love the match. I love what they were able to do. The moves together, the chemistry, it's all there. I think it's good. You know, I mean, as much problems as I have with the product sometimes, it's always good when you get, you know, that real life dynamic and you can see the chemistry there, and it's ready made. So I'm glad. We'll see what they continue to do with the Usos now that they're not in that tag team title race. We'll see. I like the talent here in the SmackDown tag team division. And I'm going to push off talking about this Nakamura AJ Styles contract signing for as long as I can. It's probably going to be the last thing I talk about here. So we also want to talk about New Day versus Rusev, Miz, and Samoa Joe. And that was the main event of this episode of SmackDown. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think that it was a great way to build to the Money in the Bank match. I like how Miz's mistake led to his downfall. Rusev, cool as always. You know, Rusev's always going to be solid. You know what to expect from Rusev at this point. And the New Day, I mean, what can you say about the New Day? The New Day, the best team. And anytime they hit that midnight hour, you know they're going to win. You know, that match came in at 13 minutes and 12 seconds, and I think that it was paced incredibly well. And, you know, for some of the main events we get on SmackDown, or just on TV, Raw as well, you know, leading into Money in the Bank, I think this was the perfect main event for these guys and who they had in it. The Miz just continues to be, and you'll hear me sing the Miz's praises a lot as we talk more and more wrestling. The Miz is just, he's like the perfect heel. You can always bet on him to deliver. You know he's going to have a quality match. He can have a match with anybody. And as much shit talking as some people do, fans do about Miz and shit on him sometimes, you can bet your bottom dollar like he can have a match with anybody. There's almost anyone you can put him in the ring with, and he's going to be able to deliver. That's not an issue at all there. Another good match that we had on this card was Becky Lynch versus Charlotte. And I love the fact that Charlotte tapped out. Anytime these two, again, that goes back to the chemistry. These two are friends in real life. So when they have matches, you're going to get that type of chemistry. So I'm enjoying this. You know, I'm still overall, I hope that we get the 4 horsemen of the WWE versus the 4 horsewomen, of UFC. Now, this seems like everyone's kind of all under the WWE umbrella, as, you know, they're spread out across different brands, but that's ultimately where I hope that we go with it. This match between Becky Lynch and Carmella was just paced very well. Again, I think, and that's something that I have said over the years, especially with Raw, that, you know, they don't have the pacing, sometimes. And I think that even with Raw paces that first 2 hours very well, sometimes even the first 2.5 hours. And I think overall WWE knows, especially now with the Fox deal coming, that they have to get SmackDown. They can no longer hold it back. You can't look at it, the AE, the B show. And I think that they're doing that very well. We'll continue to talk about that as we talk about just some of the talent on the roster, because they have a very deep roster as well. But this match, I really enjoyed. I love Charlotte. Charlotte, is she the best performer in WWE? The most consistent performer in WWE, we should say. And I know AJ Styles, Nakamura, they're better overall wrestlers, but just what Charlotte's able to do as heel, as face, it's amazing. Her physicality as a woman, she definitely brings it up to the next level. Shout out to Andrew Bello. Yeah. So, you know, and I like the fact that they're holding off on her versus Rousey. I think we need to get that eventually, but yeah, they're doing great work here. And the last thing we're going to talk about with SmackDown specifically, and I know we're doing this weird, so people probably expected to hear Raw talk first, but after that intro I put together, I wanted to talk about SmackDown first. You know, Paige, we'll talk about Paige. This contract signing, Paige was the one hosting, so to say, and she also came out earlier in that opening segment and made the handicap match between Asuka and the former members of Absolution. But I think Paige is doing very well in this general manager role. And it sucks, you know, what happened to her in Dorado. We were all so excited for her to come back. You know, the fact that women's wrestling being where it is, you definitely have to give her kudos and props, because she definitely had a huge hand in kicking that women's division up and making it respectable and making it on, like I said, taking it to the next level again. But this contract signing between Styles and Nakamura, Styles signs the contract, being very aggressive. Like he's just tired of the shit. Nakamura playing the tricks in the games and saying his pin doesn't work and just pissing Styles off to the point where Styles smacks his ass. Like, well, not literally his ass. He smacks Nakamura. This is, I enjoyed it, and I know it was awkward. I know people don't like seeing Nakamura like this. Again, a lot of the New Japan guys are really pissed off with how Nakamura's handled. But overall, for what WWE has done with Japanese characters before and how bad it can get, and I think Nakamura is going to win this match. I do. I think Nakamura is going to win it. Don't know how he's going to win it underhand. I'm sure he's going to use tactics. But once we get Nakamura as the heel champion, I think that's when we're really going to start seeing the Nakamura we want to see. At least I hope. I can be hopeful, right? But anyway, so that's the mini SmackDown review. That's my thoughts on SmackDown. We're going to take a brief break. We're going to come back. We're going to actually have an unorthodox opinion from our boy Misery Williams. And then on the other side of that, we're going to talk a little bit about Raw.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Unorthodox Opinions by your boy Misery Williams, representing the Wrestling World Podcast Network. So, man, let's just get into it. All right, this week, in my Unorthodox Opinion, we're going to be talking about Enzo Amore and how I believe, in my opinion, Enzo is about to be a tremendous mega star. His personality is through the roof. He's got a great look. He's just such a unique character and person, no matter whether he's doing music or wrestling. The guys, he's just an entertainer. He was born to entertain. And, you know, he's got support from his legion of loyal fans, and I consider myself a part of that group. I am a loyal Enzo Amore fan. But honestly, I won't listen to his music. His music has been terrible thus far. First song, trash. Second song, trash. Well, the first 20 seconds I listened to the second song is just trash. But if we're being completely honest, trash music is over nowadays. But Enzo's music is just on another level of bad. The beats, I don't mesh well with the beats, the flow, his voice, the delivery. It's all just, they're all equally bad, and it's all just a no for me. So I'm gonna have to give you an L for your rap career thus far. Just there's always a chance to redeem yourself musically, but so far you got an L. You're flunking. Despite that, you know, he's got his fans, like I said, and, you know, they're going to support him no matter what. And, you know, I will too. I continue doing music, Enzo, and I hope there's a demographic out there that enjoys your shit. I just ain't one of them. But lyrically, I listened to his first song, Phoenix, and, you know, everything else was bad except for the lyrics. The lyrics were real cool, in my opinion. He's talking about his situation. He's got some jokes in there, making fun of the marks, which I always enjoy. You know, his lyrics, they had meaning. They had a little substance to them. And, you know, there's a demographic of rap fans that, you know, really appreciate the lyrical flow of things. I like the beat. I like the beat if it's something I can bang my head to. And if it's a catchy chorus I can repeat along with, that's the type of music I like. But some people like the lyrical shit. It looks like Enzo may be more lyrically dominant than he is. I don't even know how to describe the other type of artists. They rely on their beats, basically. They just rely on their beats. But anyway, if WWE just wasn't so PG, I mean, if this were the Attitude Era, I don't think he would have ever left. I don't think there would have been really a problem. I guess they were just looking for any old reason to get rid of him, and this was it. But this guy, he's just, man, him and I'm not comparing the two as far as current superstar wise, but him and Batista, they're the biggest former wrestlers out there that need to be in a WWE ring, you know, entertaining this crowd. I honestly think that would help get ratings up. I think if you were to announce that Enzo's returning in 2 to 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, I think the ratings will go up. I honestly do. I think Enzo has that much appeal to him. He has that much interest around him because people are just going to want to hear what he has to say. They want to see what he's going to do. And, you know, there's a portion of people that don't like him. I think there's a pretty big portion of people who don't like him that do like him for really no reason. Mostly it's stupid hardcore feminists that don't like him. But they're probably going to tune in because they want to see who's going to beat his ass. So, I think Enzo is just not yet, but a soon-to-be trendsetter. I think if some movie producer were to just put him in not even in a starring role, in a co-starring role, or he's just a supporting character in a movie, make the character, pretty authentic, make it based off himself. I mean, I think this guy is just screaming Hollywood. I mean, he loves the lifestyle, which, that's really irrelevant, but I think, personally, he's made for Hollywood. I think he can handle the pressure of being a superstar. And, man, he just needs that one Hollywood producer, one guy that's cast in a movie, and he just in a role that fits him, and a character that he can play really well, and I think this guy is just going to skyrocket, and the WWE will need him more than he needs them. And I think that's the case already, and he's dropped out 2 trash songs, so, hell, WWE needs me right about now. Honestly, put me out there, and I'll fucking entertain people and give you at least one, two. I got a couple friends who will watch just to see me on there, so I get you a couple viewers, maybe 20, 25 people will watch because of me. But they're only going to watch my segment, so you better put me on the whole show, or else your ratings are going to go down. Or shit, just have me write the shit, and I'll fucking bring 4 million more people to your shitty program, WWE. Anyway, I'm so glad I stopped watching that shit. I haven't watched that shit since fucking Backlash, and, Backlash was fucking terrible. I will be watching Money in the Bank, though, so, yeah, no more Raw and Smackdown for me, just the pay-per-views. Alright, guys, we're about at the 6-minute mark. I tried to make this 5 minutes. Went a little long, but I appreciate you guys for listening to me. If you like me, if you like the WPN, and you like our content, please continue to subscribe to us and listen to us. I know we've fallen off a little bit, but we're about to pick it right back up, and, none of our cast has missed a beat. We are all still top-notch quality talent, and, we really do appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to us. So, like I was saying, if you like me, I'm Misery Williams, formerly known as D-Will. You can find me on all social media platforms at Misery Williams, MiseryWillims, on Twitter. I don't use Snapchat. That's my tag on Instagram, /Misery Williams on Facebook. I mean, hit me up, or don't, or whatever. Follow me. Tell me you hate me. Tell me you love me. Tell me you're indifferent about me. No song lyric of the week this week, but CEOHaize, I promise you I'll have one next week for you, because I know that's your favorite segment. That's your favorite part of the Unorthodox Opinions. Alright, guys, take care.
Ooh, baby, I like it raw. Yeah, baby, I like it raw. Ooh, baby, I like it raw.
Alright, so now it's time to talk about WWE Raw, and I said we were going to talk about Raw a little bit because I really did not care about this show this week. Just overall as a wrestling show, I felt that this was just horrible. As much as I've been able to say good things about a lot of the shows lately, it just, I don't know. So with Raw, we started off with Elias, which that's always going to be a great hook. It's a great way to start a show, is Elias. We got from that into Elias and Jinder Mahal versus Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. And my issue with this is that clearly they just keep attaching Roman Reigns to these pieces of the Shield in the hopes that it's going to get him over with the fans. And, well, let me not say get him over, because one could argue that Roman Reigns is over, but it's going to get the reaction that they want. And it's not. The thing with Roman Reigns, and my problem with Roman Reigns, is he would be the perfect heel. And, I don't subscribe to the people who say that Roman can't wrestle. You guys are idiots. Roman can absolutely wrestle. He's a great wrestler. Matter of fact, he's had probably the best body of consistent pay-per-view matches almost on anyone on the main roster. Roman Reigns can wrestle. It's the character that just the way that they do it that I've had the problem with for the last couple of years. And it's just crazy because the Shield is one of the things that got me back into wrestling. And, everything in this match, Jinder is good. Elias is good. Seth is good. Roman is good at times. It's just the way that this is put together, and that just may be the wrestling mark in me that this is just so frustrated by that. But yeah, I I don't know, man. I have no idea. Kurt Hawkins made an appearance on here on the show, which of course he lost. That's what Kurt Hawkins does. He loses. One of the things we're going to talk about in depth though here is Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey and how they're building the storyline. So we got Nia Jax versus Natalya. Before then, we saw Ronda Rousey and Natalya throwing punches, training, I guess so to say, backstage. Nia Jax comes out in this match and really overpowers Natalya. Natalya gets hurt. Nia Jax picks up the win. And then Ronda Rousey comes in and Nia Jax is standing behind her. Nia Jax, the big Samoan, strong, dominant woman that Nia Jax should be, and she's just standing there, and you just, as a wrestling fan, something in you's like, she's gonna attack both of them. No, Ronda Rousey gets Natalya out the ring. Later on in the night, we see Natalya in the backstage, and again, Nia Jax walks in. She calls Natalya her friend, said she's known her longer, and we just get more looks. This is just a waste. Like, Nia Jax should have destroyed somebody. It's yeah. We're not even going to talk about Ronda Rousey being in this match for the title. Like, I'm so concerned about this match of Money in the Bank and how they're going to book it that it really, really worries me. It really does. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it continues. We're going to keep watching it. I'm going to hope for the best at Money in the Bank. The episodes coming up this week are the go home shows to Money in the Bank. I'm expecting them both to be horrible. So next show, we may just end up just talking about Money in the Bank if both shows are horrible, as well as some New Japan stuff. So be prepared for that. We're going to get next into the Raw Tag Team Champions, Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. And, you know, they're interviewed by Renee asking about the Battle Royal to crown the new number one contenders for the titles. And Bray Wyatt says that any team that faces them will be facing Woken Warriors, Fireflies, and Gods. Which, when you really think about it, if you think about the characters in the Broken Universe and everything, that is absolutely correct and spot on. And then Matt Hardy says they're unstoppable and they have woken the WWE Universe. And Matt asks Renee if she considers herself woken, and she says yes. You know, and then Matt Hardy does the whole wonderful and the claps thing. Matt Hardy is just hilarious. But, you know, what they've done with this woken thing, and we all hopefully saw the Broken Universe and saw how special that was in TNA. The Woken thing is not as special in the WWE, but it was never going to be. You were always going to get a WWE version of this. They were never going to go as fully into it as what TNA was able to do, because TNA, considering their viewership, they were able to be experimental. They were able to throw shit at the wall and see if it stuck. WWE isn't going to be that same way. They're going to give Matt that same type of creative leash. So, I mean, and what they've done so far with Matt has probably been more than I even thought they were going to be able to do. So I'm enjoying it for what it is. Overall, I would like to see something more of the Woken character since they're using it. They have Bray. Really, when you think about this whole Woken thing, they're doing with Bray what they did with Randy Orton when they aligned him with the Wyatts. You know, you saw him really align and seem like he was true to Bray Wyatt, and eventually it all came crashing down. Are they going to do that with Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy? I don't think it's going to be the same, because I just don't see Matt Hardy winning the world title and it being the exact same storyline. But I think they're going to do something similar with having one of these guys turn on each other. They've already broken up the Hardys, which we've all saw coming a mile away once they came back to WWE. Jeff is just too big of a star. They never keep him attached with Matt Hardy. Vince sees him as a single star. He has the charisma as a single star. So I don't think anyone was convinced that they were going to stay a tag team once they came back to the WWE. But let's move on. So the tag team battle royal was Axel and Dallas, Fandango and Tyler Breeze, Ziggler and Drew McIntyre, Dash and Dawson, Apollo Crews and Titus O'Neil, Slater and Rhino, and Connor and Victor. And the goddamn B team won. The B team is the number one contenders. If they have them win these titles at Money in the Bank, I'm done. I'm done. You're going to hear a rant of all rants when we come back on this episode. But, you know, what they're doing with the B team, they're trying to tell a story with it. I mean, they're sticking to it. I'd still want to see more Ziggler and McIntyre. They're one of my favorite tag teams. I love those two guys together. But, you know, the B team is enjoyable in a sense. So we'll see. The next thing that happened on that show was Lashley and Sami Zayn. Now, I'm not as into this storyline because this just doesn't make any sense. Lashley should destroy Sami Zayn in the blink of an eye every time they're in the ring together. Will that happen? No, it's WWE. But, you know, Bobby Lashley, he came in tag with Braun. Just I like that they're using him. I like that they have him in the storyline. Again, he hasn't been back that long. So for anyone who's kind of down on what's been done with him so far, I would say just stick it through. Let's see what they do with him 3 months from now, because sometimes it could take a while. They may have to reintroduce. Bobby Lashley hasn't been in WWE for a long time. While he has the look, he's gotten better as a wrestler. He's gotten better as a talker in his time in TNA. And he's proven that he can be a main event guy. Well, at least in another company now. WWE's being as big as it is, he may never get in the main event full time here in WWE. But I definitely think we're going to get good things out of Bobby Lashley. I want to see where they're going to go with the Sami Zayn and Bobby Lashley storyline, because something in me, and call me crazy, but something in me we may get another tag team out of this for a little while. I don't know why I think that. I really don't know why I think that, but that's where my mind's going to right now. So we're going to talk about the state of the women's division in Raw and kind of my issues with it. So we had the Riot Squad versus Bayley, Sasha, and Ember Moon, and it was an okay match. It wasn't terrible by any means. It was a good way to get, the Bayley and Sasha Banks feud jump started. It made sense. Bayley got the win on the Bayley to belly. So all that's good. Now you had Ember Moon, who they've slowly demystified Ember Moon more and more. She's been in this company. With NXT, she came in, she had that Asuka feel for so long. They had her lose too early, in my opinion. And then she's never quite gotten it back, even though she won the title in NXT. She eventually lost it. And Ember Moon doesn't do anything for herself too. I think that, she seems very awkward sometimes. And I'm like, in the ring, everything's good. But, as we've seen in WWE, you have to be able to do more than that. And this is why I think that she was caught up maybe too soon. I would like to maybe see her stay in NXT for another year. But, it is what it is. We'll see. We'll see as this continues. Just overall, the women's division in Raw is just, maybe it's because of the main storyline of Nia Jax and Ronda I'm just not into, but as much talent as they have here, it just seemed kind of blah to me lately. I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it. They have the talent for sure. They have the bodies. That's not an issue at all, but we'll see. We'll see. Finn Balor and Kevin Owens on this show went to a DQ after 18 minutes and 35 seconds. DQ finishes in WWE. Maybe that should be the next episode. Maybe we should talk about that. But after the DQ, we got Kevin Owens bringing out the ladder, teases the frog splash. But he got a little scared. Balor climbs the ladder and hits the double stomp off the ladder. And then Balor grabs the briefcase, and that's kind of the imagery we're left on going off on, which just leads me to believe Balor's no way in hell winning Money in the Bank, but he may. Right now, my pick to win Money in the Bank is just because I love seeing him with stuff like that would be Kevin Owens. I would just love to see Kevin Owens win Money in the Bank. We're going to get into a segment from Wrestling Redneck and Anthony, and I'll see you guys on the other side to close the show.
What's up, everybody? Colin Whitesong here with my Cage Town co-host, Anthony, not Adam Drivebist, Merced. Haize, make sure you get this name right. We're going to kind of mix it up tonight and talk a little 205 Live, which is normally what Adam Drivebist would be talking about. Like you said earlier, with SmackDown moving to Fox, they're probably going to keep it 2 hours because I don't think they could do 3. Raw is going to stay on USA and stay 3 hours. This kind of leaves 205 Live in a limbo because they film after SmackDown on Tuesdays. So we were kind of talking about what could be the fate of 205 Live. And Anthony, you want to tell the good people what your thoughts are of what could happen to 205 Live?
Yeah, 205 Live is in a precarious situation here because let's be very honest about it. It might be good wrestling, but they have not really garnered the attention of the crowds that they've had at those live shows for whatever reason. And there's a million that we can go into, but they will either be folded into SmackDown and just have the Cruiserweight division exist there, or they'll continue their show on the WWE Network at Full Sail, or maybe they'll go on the road on their own. I don't think so, but there's a lot to be said about that Cruiserweight division. And where WWE can put them moving forward because of the fact that they don't seem to fit into the grand scheme of things at the moment.
No, they really don't, and it's kind of sad because they're starting to gain a lot of traction. Like I've enjoyed the Drew Gulak stuff. Cedric Alexander being the champion down there. I saw today, I think it was, Leo Rush is going to be moving to 205 Live, which is definitely perfect for him. I can see him and Cedric Alexander having some great matches. My kind of thoughts on this were them moving to NXT, as you said, like maybe them possibly moving to Full Sail, but not being their own show. Just kind of combining in with NXT, making NXT a 2-hour show, but instead of having this whole 205 Live and NXT being two separate brands, it's all just NXT, and you have the Cruiserweight title kind of be a launching point title for some of these guys coming in to NXT. You know, some of the smaller guys might get it, and then some of your bigger guys might carry the main NXT title, or your bigger guys that you feel like could easily move to the main roster. Because, you know, a guy like Adam Cole, who's cruiserweight size, a guy like Ricochet, who's cruiserweight size, they could all hold the NXT title and carry it with a sense of pride and respect and actually bring something to that title.
Yeah, the problem with moving into NXT is that they currently have a secondary title. They have that North American title. So bringing that cruiserweight title into that mix diminishes what it has been in 205 Live, which has been the one and only title that everybody has sought after. So bringing it into NXT in particular leaves that there. Plus, a lot of the guys in NXT are cruiserweight sized. Yeah. Aside from the Lars Sullivans of the world, almost everyone else. Otis Dozovich, don't get me started with Otis Dozovich, isn't even a heavyweight. That dude's a super heavyweight. You know, the likes of that, they are. It's a little bit difficult. So the best case scenario, honestly, is that they get engulfed into something like Raw or SmackDown permanently, so that there can be that kind of distinction, and they can have that separation on those shows the way we used to see on Monday Nitro or something, where at the top of an hour you get a really exciting cruiserweight match, to break up the idea of it being all about characters and all about storyline development, to have that wrestling element in there, especially with a guy like Cedric Alexander, who I think honestly was the right choice for them to run with.
Yeah, I always enjoyed Nitro when they would break it up with some Alex Wright cruiserweight matches.
Wait a minute, that's not a Nitro girl back there.
What is this?
Oh, thanks for nothing, Alex Wright.
Guess he's pretty happy about that cruiserweight championship belt.
Where's Alex Wright?
Oh, Alex Wright.
Oh,
Das Wunderkind.
Das Wunderkind. Yeah, you know, now that we've kind of talked it out a little bit, I do think that if they just moved them into SmackDown and just made it a part of the SmackDown brand, didn't try to like differentiate it like they used to with the old cruiserweight title, where it was just a title on the show.
Yeah,
I think that would be a lot better.
Yeah, you know, the other thing is there needs to be an acknowledgement amongst the WWE audience that this 205 Live thing has failed because the fan base has allowed it to fail. They started this thing off as being very pure wrestling, and no one watched it. Like no one bought into it. The fans in the shows didn't buy into it. The people at home watching on the WWE Network did not buy into it, despite the fact that they bought into NXT and everything that they were doing, the pure wrestling stuff that they were doing there. They didn't do it with the 205 Live guys, which kind of feeds into that narrative, which at this point I don't know if it's true or not true, is the idea that smaller guys don't draw, but they've got to find a way to get these guys to be uniquely interesting, because at this moment 205 Live has not been able to do that for any of them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were like really hyped about the Cruiserweight Classic, and then when they didn't sign the likes of Kota Ibushi and Zack Sabre Jr., I mean, even bringing a guy like Will Ospreay into the company just to put in your 205 Live division would have made people want to watch. Because, I mean, look at the matches that Ospreay's been putting on in New Japan. I mean, him and Flip had an excellent match at Best of the Super Juniors over the weekend. Yeah. I mean, Flip Gordon's another guy. Like, you could bring him into 205 Live now with the cachet that he's gotten being in the Bullet Club. I mean, WWE should be all over that. He's showing a lot, too, in the acting department when it comes to wrestling. But yeah, I mean...
But there's only so many guys you can bring in at one time. And they've got an overloaded roster of cruiserweights. They're still trying to figure out what to do. Yeah, and they still have to figure out what the hell to do with Hideo Itami. I mean, I know they're trying something finally, but like, there's a lot of failure that's happened with a guy like that. They spent a lot of money on that. They've got to make it work, and it hasn't been working. Yeah,
they've let Itami fail, and part of it's not. I mean, him getting injured, that's on him, and that's kind of the working and stuff. But they haven't really. I don't think they know what to do with him.
No. And, he hasn't picked up to English all that well. He's not as charismatic as Nakamura. He is the kind of guy who lives on being stiff. But in the United States and touring as much as you do, you can't live like that. Yeah, and it has not translated well.
Because they don't have a weekly New Japan show over there. I mean, they have, their monthly shows?
They have monthly shows, and they air at, like, midnight on whatever it is, Tokyo Sport, NTV, or whatever it is.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in general, they do a show a month compared to, like you said, the schedule where these guys are doing 2 or 3 shows a week.
Yeah. I mean, you can't get those kinds of shots every week.
No. So we're kind of in agreement that we don't see 205 Live just being a lone show anymore, or even a traveling show.
No, I think that idea has run its course.
Got you. So be on the lookout for SmackDown Live to get a new division, or NXT to get a new division, as we don't see it going to Raw, because then that would make that definitely a 4-hour show. And we don't need any more 4-hour shows. No, they have pacing issues there, especially since all the pay-per-views are going to be 12 hours long now.
God damn it! I can't deal with these long shows. Like they should not be that long. They just shouldn't. I know that they're getting a bunch of money for it or whatever, but no.
Yeah, no. Let's say no to long wrestling shows. Yeah,
and that goes true for New Japan as well.
Yeah. Sometimes like being on the East Coast and trying to stay up and watch a live New Japan show. That intermission part. That's where it's dangerous, because I'll fall asleep during that intermission part before it gets back to like the main card. Because I'll have watched the Rumble, I'll have watched the Young Lions come in and get their asses kicked by Minoru Suzuki, like all of that stuff, and I'll have been like hyped and excited for it, and then intermission hits, and I just like start to fade out.
Yeah, and as someone, look, I've been to Japan, I've seen a lot of wrestling shows in Japan. That intermission is there so you can get your T-shirt signed by a wrestler and all that kind of stuff. That's how those guys make a lot of their money. So that's why it exists, and it's not going away anytime soon. But if you're not there and you're watching it on TV, it is a buzz killer.
Yeah, it's very, very painful to watch. I think my first Wrestle Kingdom I watched was the Kenny Omega Okada one. And
I was there live for that one.
Oh, lucky you. That was probably one of you talk about. We talked earlier on Cage Town about some of the greatest MMA matches we'd ever seen, and this was probably one of the greatest wrestling matches I've ever seen.
We're not going to talk about that argument now. I actually thought that on that night, I thought that Naito and Tanahashi had a better match.
Yeah, probably. But I think it's just the lead up and the hype. Because I like you said, I followed kind of being the elite in the Bullet Club and a lot of that stuff. And the lead up into that fight, I think, is what I mean, even like you and I talked last week on the show, the lead up for Okada Omega 3 is gonna be insane. And it's Okada that called Omega out this time.
Yeah. So it's gonna be very interesting. But look, Japanese wrestling is a What's very interesting is the idea of what's big to us here, which is this Omega Okada thing, and what's big to Japanese wrestling fans. We looked here at Omega versus Jericho as being a huge event. For them in Japan, Okada and Naito was enormous, and that didn't get much play here in the United States because I think that, Los Ingobernables is a Mexican group that has a Japanese offshoot that has not really caught on as much as Bullet Club, but it's big internationally and especially in Japan, and that really carried a lot of weight there. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Omega and Okada 4 at this point is going to carry that same weight in the Japan audience. They're doing it in Osaka, which is a very hardcore wrestling town. So it should, but we'll see how it goes.
I forgot that it is 4. Look, they've fought like more times now than Arlovsky and Tim Sylvia have.
Way more entertaining than Arlovsky and Tim Sylvia.
Yes, yes, very much so. Surprise topic.
Uh-oh.
Chris Jericho, do you see him working with TNA? Working in TNA? Will we see him on an Impact taping?
I think so.
Because I don't know if you've seen the hullabaloo about them not being, like TNA stars not being on the cruise. Well, now Impact is working with Chris Jericho to put Impact stars on that cruise. So not only are you going to have Chris Jericho and an assortment of like ex-WWE superstars, you're going to have TNA or Impact superstars, and you're going to have Ring of Honor superstars and New Japan superstars all on this cruise.
I think it only makes sense for him to end up in Impact now. And I don't think I think that Impact has been doing a tremendous job of making themselves be a lot more than just a retirement home or WWE Light or WWE whatever they were 15 years ago. They're their own unique thing now. So I think Chris Jericho going there can add something very unique to them that makes them even better. So I don't think it's a step down at all anymore to go to Impact Wrestling. So I see it being a very strong possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I had a feeling because I think shortly after Don Callis and Scott D'Amore took over of Impact, they were on Talk Is Jericho, and it just seemed like the friendship that they have and the relationship they have, like business-wise and inside and outside of wrestling, is just going to lead to Chris Jericho winding up in Impact. Because
it's a Canadian Illuminati.
Basically, yeah. I mean, they're like, Callis is all about Omega. He's all about Jericho. Their Impact is now shot in Canada now mostly.
Yeah, but let's make one thing also very, very clear about Kenny Omega. If let's say that he went to Impact, that doesn't make them a WWE competitor.
No, definitely
WWE's brand is so large that they can survive anyone going anywhere right now. But at the same time, but with that said, would that make Impact a more interesting product?
Yes.
Absolutely.
100%. Especially if they had Jericho there every week. You'd have Pentagon. Yeah. You'd have Austin Aries. I mean, honestly, that might
Rosemary,
be
who's been fantastic.
Yeah, Rosemary's been great. Su Yung, who's very underrated. I wasn't very into Su Yung, and I've seen a lot of her matches now since she's been on Impact. Amazing work. And they kind of have a similar gimmick, and it still works.
And Sami Callihan, despite the fact that he likes to break people's faces.
The Sami Callihan stuff, the stuff that him and Eddie Edwards are doing right now, that stuff's amazing too. Like I listened to the Impact Attack and Ben Hameen and Ray, like they're hardcore TNA fans and Impact fans, and they said that this is some of the best stuff that they've seen from Eddie Edwards in like a long time. Probably
ever. Yeah. Like Eddie's never showed this kind of character.
And
ever.
It's good that Sami Callihan's bringing it out, and a lot of this has to do with Don Callis and these guys being in charge and letting these guys do things, because I think they had a murder. Like there was somebody said that he was. I think Eddie Edwards said he was going to have to murder Sami Callihan. And when was the last time you had somebody saying that they were going to murder somebody in wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, aside from it being from like an indie where homicide like threatened somebody, and you might have thought that he was actually being real.
But okay, so guys, there we go. There's our little bit of a chat about 205 Live. You got a little bit of New Japan talk in there. You got some TNA, Impact. Why do I keep calling it TNA? It's not TNA anymore. I mean, it's always going to be TNA,
It's always going to be TNA.
With this. Yeah, it's
going to be TNA.
Impact.
Especially now that Jeff Jarrett is AAA mega champion.
Didn't he also just get a company just now too? Didn't they?
I think he took back Global Force Wrestling. I don't know.
Oh man, the life and times. If only he was an MMA fighter, and then we could do an MMA fighter spotlight on Cage Town. Shameless plug there. Go listen to Cage Town on the Wrestling World Podcast Network, hosted by myself and Anthony. Anthony, say goodbye to the good people.
Goodbye, everyone, and I am Anthony and not Adam.
Get it right or pay the price, Haize.
Okay, listen. So, Redneck and Anthony wanted to poke some fun at me. I did say, listen, we, at one point in time at the Wrestling World Podcast Network, we had an Adam, an Andrew, and an Anthony. Too many A's. They should have did a podcast. We could have called it AAA. So I apologize. That was Anthony and Colin Wysong, aka the Wrestling Redneck, doing the thing like no one else can do. They're great. Honestly, if I'm being 100% honest, at some point they should be hosting the full body of this show because they're just great. And I love the chemistry together. And it's so funny how they started doing podcasts together and have taken over Cage Town, which is just a great podcast. But enough of that. This has been the Click Wrestling Podcast. I'm CEOHaize. You can follow me at CEOHaize. I look forward to talking to you guys next week as we get ready to go into Money in the Bank. We got those go home shows. Woo! This is another one in the books. Thank you to Flaw 700 and the Podcast Brothers Network who aired this wonderful podcast. I can't say enough about those guys who are also celebrating their 2-year anniversary. So shouts out to them. We're going to see continued great things out of this podcast and that network and this whole, I'm glad we're able to work together on this. So yeah, that's everything. That's all my plugs. That's it for today. Go home, do whatever you need to do. Peace, love. I'll see you guys next week.
Run it. Picture a nigga that's raw. Amplify his ass and what you see is what's up. Motherfuckers I'll slaughter. Blow him out the water. Word to me. Fuck the father, my man is deadly as a pin in a hand grenade. 5 seconds before you get played, you can't throw me. I'll get you a blow up. Ever see a sucker scattered and make you throw up? Then I take advantage, you can't manage to get up. All you can do is sit up, I get lit up. Hit up Ice Cube, tear shit up like a dude you can bet on. Collide like a head-on collision. Stutter stepping is an incision. Other niggas saying exactly what I vision. Because I'm gone, you think I left you all, but I stand your ass like